morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. This be episode 657, everybody. Good morning, Jen. Got a packed house today, guys.
Yeah, we do.
Boom!
Boom!
Hearing the boom, does that not get you fired up?
Boom! 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 Triple
boom.
boom!
That's better than the Costco. That's better than the Costco boom guy, wherever those people are.
Madden-esque booming.
Oh, yes, it is.
Welcome back.
We'll have to get a
Welcome
clip
back to the show.
We'll have to get a Madden clip and compare it to Derpy.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have a boom off.
We got a packed house today. Derpy's here because the picks are in. Derpy is only here when he's victorious. I want to.
You know what? I respect it. I respect that move right there. That is a veteran move on the part of Derpy. I respect it. Exactly.
I want to welcome Finch back, Mr. Sniffles today.
Thank you. Suffering from a little bit of a head thing, but I'm feeling better today than I have the last couple days. And just real quick, the point of note, anybody that's watching, two things. One, I released a video yesterday that was a recap of the stats of the Browns game. I'm going to try to do that as often as possible. And two, I brought my good friend Cam Hayward today to the show. As you can see here, I got my signed autograph card in honor of Mike and in honor of a great game by one of our favorite defensive players of all time.
Cam Hayward's the greatest player of all time.
I couldn't agree more, Mike.
You know what? From my voice to your ears, it's the truth, baby. It's the truth.
Let me see what Finch's shirt says.
Yeah,
Finch,
I caught
Finch, the man, the myth, the legend. I love it. I love it.
It was a gift from the wife a few years ago, and it was pretty much the only clean shirt on the rack this morning.
Doesn't make it any less.
Also, good morning. I want to say hi. The man with the largest, quite visible every day, right here on the show. The birthday boy of yesterday, Mike. Mike, how are you doing today, man?
I am doing great, my friend. I am just pumped up, ready to talk some Steelers, boys.
Happy birthday, Mike.
First off, I want to know what happened yesterday. What happened yesterday, Mike? You seem to be having a spat with Brian on the show. On the I don't remember even what it was. It was something about T.J. Watt, maybe.
I called him a stat watcher.
That was great. I loved that exchange.
I mean, well, then he texted me on the side today saying, "I watched the game and Watt was worse than I remember." Like. Why? Because he was.
Now, was this all going on while you guys were having that, or after the fact?
This was after that. He texted me this morning.
Was this after the fact?
Yeah, after the fact. Like he texted me today, like early as in the morning that he watched the game again. Said Watt didn't do anything, but I saw Watt like when he the six pressures when he couldn't get to the quarterback, did what every good outside linebacker or any D lineman does. Hey, I know I can't get to the quarterback, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in passing lanes. I'm going to get in rushing lanes, disrupt their field of vision, which any good coach would want you to do.
I'll bet if you asked some of the other players on our defense what they thought of TJ in that game, I'll bet they would all have very positive things to say about it.
Yeah. Well, there's no two ways about it. And I think that this is irrelevant, guys. I think with the little spat that went back and forth between Mike and Brian, and I don't remember how it ended out, Mike, but you kind of finished it up with one of those mic drop moments where you're like, "Well, you have to learn how to do something," or it was pretty nasty. I thought you still go at it yesterday.
Might have been something to learn. Yeah, maybe a bit along the lines.
You might want to learn how to watch a football game or something totally ridiculous.
Something like that.
You might want to learn.
Yeah,
you might want to learn how to watch football
along those lines. Yeah.
Good morning to John, my man John on the board, Big John Stud, middle name Mud. He says good morning to Jen. He says happy birthday to Mike, and he also says give it to Mikey. He'll eat anything. We all remember that commercial, of course.
He likes it. Hey, Mike.
And
I had two older brothers, and they would say that all the time.
And of course,
it could be a lot worse. You could have
been Derpy. What's going on? You have a long weekend, of course. You're Ohio State is actually going to the playoffs still, Derpy. Doesn't matter that they lost a few games. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Besides Ryan Day, he stinks. But I'm ready to talk Steelers. Boom.
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 Boom. Boom. I love it. All right, everybody. Welcome back. I do have, in case you're wondering, I have the scenario. If the Steelers win or tie this weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles, the Pittsburgh Steelers will clinch a playoff spot. However, it'll take a couple weeks to. Here's the thing: they have to create enough space between them and the Indianapolis Colts, basically, by outplaying the amount of games that the Colts have left. If they win or they tie this weekend, the Steelers I'm talking about, they do clinch a playoff spot. Also, of course, the Colts beat us. That's why we have to make that margin. And finally, if the Steelers then the following week beat the Ravens, we will be AFC North Division champions. So, there's a lot of scenarios, a lot of things that could happen, but it's all within the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's all up to us. You can't depend on other teams. You always say, wow, this stinks. We're waiting until the Chargers lose. We're waiting until the Bills lose. We need this team to win. Guys, we're in position to call our own shots to make it as good as we. Would it be interesting if we either land in the 2 or the 3 spot, like where we most likely will land, and get those Denver Broncos in the first round to have the Broncos paying Russell Wilson to knock them out of the playoffs? I think that would be the most ideal scenario for the Steelers. Guys, what do you think about those things? We can make the playoffs this weekend in that possibility of getting the Denver Broncos and the whole Russell Wilson thing. Finch, go ahead, man.
I would like to say that, that would be amazing. What is a better feeling than clinching the division against the Ravens? Like the old, remember the 43 for 43 when we went to Super Bowl, Troy Polamalu, and we beat the Ravens to go. And that was one of the greatest feelings I ever felt as a Steeler fan, beating your biggest rival to get to the promised land. And that could happen next week. If we take care of business this week, we take care of business next week, we can clinch it right in front of Baltimore Ravens. That would be the best.
And on their home field too. That makes it even sweeter if we can pull off these 2 victories right here. And like Jen was saying, like the spat between the Eagles players, that locker. This is what happened to them last year. The locker room became unglued and very toxic at the end of the year, and that's what's happening now. It happened at a perfect time with us coming into town. Hopefully that can carry over. But yeah, I would love for us to win these 2 games. Face the Broncos again in the first round, play them again for the second time, make them, like Ryan said, pay Russell Wilson to knock them out of the playoffs. That would be so sweet, too sweet.
Sweet poetry.
If you're putting
Yes,
it is, and if you're putting together a story on, like the way that you put together the 05 story, you beat the Bengals, you roll on Carson Palmer, you go and you beat the Colts in Indianapolis, you knock off the number 1 Denver Broncos, and you're the 6th seed. It's just, some stories just keep going and they just keep getting better. And if this one keeps continuing to go the direction that's going for us, this will make a pretty great story in itself. Of course, what Mike and Finch are talking about, the drama in Philly, A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts going at it. Apparently, A.J. Brown's taking stabs at Jalen Hurts' lack of production. Jalen Hurts hasn't surpassed 200 yards in a game in 3 games. And just this past week against the Carolina Panthers, he only threw for like 108 yards, something like this. So you guys are right there. There's words being thrown back and forth. These guys are not they're not clicking the way that the Pittsburgh Steelers are. Maybe, just maybe, this could be the first time since 1965 we could go over to the eastern part of the state and walk out of that city with the win, Mike.
Yeah, that would be nice. That was what the Johnson administration, right? We haven't won since that time, so the Vietnam War era. My God. Hopefully we can go in there and win. Like, we never won with Big Ben in there. And I believe Russ is like, 6-0 in his career against the Eagles?
Well, he is 6-0 and he's 4-0 at Philadelphia.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Great
Yeah,
stat.
Yeah, because Jen asked in there, at least his stats, and I was like, I saw the record somewhere. I was going to look it up. So thank you for having that there. And that could be a recipe for success, having Russell Wilson there. Their turmoil in the or more has one of the best records against the spread. So, keep the Steelers underdogs. That seems to motivate Tomlin and the boys. So let's keep it going.
On the board, Yinzer Joe says the Steelers and Eagles game can't come fast enough, right, guys? I couldn't agree with you more. Also, Jen says just okay. That's what you were just talking about. And finally, John says 1965, 59 years ago was the last time. The Steelers are certainly due. Going over and getting this win in Philadelphia would be huge, guys, especially starting on this 3-game streak, this 3 games against Philadelphia, Baltimore, Kansas City. I mean, what a better start than to go into Philadelphia and get a win. But it's going to be tough, guys. It is not going to be easy. That's a good team. They have a lot going on over there. And but again, guys, as we pointed out, Russell Wilson has never lost to the Eagles. He's 6-0 overall, 4-0 at Philadelphia. Derp, are you feeling optimistic? You feeling okay? You think that the Steelers got a good chance to go to Philadelphia and win, man? What are your thoughts?
I feel like we can win. The way that the offense is rolling and the way the defense is rolling, I do feel optimistic for a win.
You know what? I do too, guys. Finch, Mike, do you guys feel optimistic? Because here's the thing. And Mike, you and I have had this conversation 30 times over the past 4 years of doing this show. We just can't win in Philadelphia. Is it psychological? I don't know what it is because it goes clear back to 1965. You can't pin it on a coach. You can't pin it on a player. You can't pin it on a situation. This goes back almost 60 years, way farther than all of us. Finch and Mike, guys, tell me what it's going to take for the Steelers to go into Philadelphia and make it different from the last 30 times that this happened, guys. What have the Steelers got to do to get a win in Philly?
Mike.
God. We have to control Jalen Carter. My God, that guy is a beast up the middle on that defense.
Mike, is he going to be more difficult to handle than Myles Garrett?
Yeah. I think he's going to put you in minds of what we had to do against Sexy Dexy against New York. We're going to have to handle him in that situation where he is just that good of an interior player. He's one of the best young players in the NFL on the D line. And then you got Quinion Mitchell in the back end. And, they have Mitchell, right?
Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean, yeah, excuse me. They got Cooper DeJean back there, Reed Blankenship. They have a good secondary, so we definitely need George Pickens to play. But my whole thing, it starts up front against Jalen Carter. And like Steeler Freak said, make Jalen Hurts win with his arm, man. Like his past 3 games, he has not been the same quarterback. And then you also have to worry about, MVP candidate Saquon Barkley.
Right.
It's going to take a total team effort. I don't think we can't start off slow on the road on this one. We have to come out fast. Offense needs to come out fast. The defense, if they can come out playing like they did last week from start to finish, I'm confident with it's going to be that offense cannot have a slow start.
Finch, before you go on, I just want to say this. I just have to deduct points from Mike on the day because how you forget the only white cornerback in the NFL in the last 25 years. How you forget the guy's name is beyond me, but however, Mike did forget Cooper DeJean.
But I should get okay, they do have Quinion Mitchell. I was right. And I remember they have Reed Blankenship. I got one of the white guys right.
We'll give you a pass.
Okay.
This is the keys to victory are quite simple. Just play Steeler football. That's all there is to it. If we play the strong defense and stop the running back the way we've done all year, granted, Saquon Barkley is almost certainly the best running back we have faced this year or going to face. But if the Steelers can just do what they've been doing, man, you do make a good point that we do need to get out to a faster start. That's been a real issue for the Steelers all season and has definitely been an issue the last couple of games, even versus the Browns, terrible team that we've just can't seem to get off the ground to start. And then in the second half, we come out flying. So we need to just kind of get that momentum going earlier in the game, build a lead, get that 1 or 2 touchdown lead if possible. And then, just let the defense do their thing and just try to contain Saquon.
Yeah, because as Saquon goes, so goes their offense.
Give me 1 second because I do want to make a connection here. Yinzer Joe asked, he said, the screen game, if we would run the screen game, it could be productive. That's my question to you guys. A lot of teams struggle stopping the screen. I mean, it's a very difficult play to stop sometime if ran correctly. How do you guys feel the Steelers will match up against the Philadelphia Eagles, who may hit Saquon Barkley on a screen? Saquon Barkley is a tough player to defend anyway, on top of in a screen play situation. Finch, can this be a problem for the Steelers this weekend? And if so, what do you do to stop that?
It can be a problem, and it's hard to scheme against because you have such a great player in Saquon. He's like he's got the mind and the feet of a wide receiver and the body of a bruiser, and just his athletic ability is unparalleled. There's nobody who does things that he's doing right now and from the running back position. So, yeah, how do you stop it? It's tough. I think the biggest thing you got to do is kind of play a little bit of that thought of, you know what, he's going to get the ball. We just need to stop him when he does get the ball. So if he does pick up that screen, he does get that catch, middle of the field, 7 yards down the field, we just got to hurry up and tackle him and not let him run away.
And on the flip side too, like how Yinzers was saying too, like we need to use the screen game too, and use
Absolutely.
it to our advantage as well, because that Eagles their front four, they pursue the ball. Pursue the ball, pursue the ball, pursue the ball. They are so quick to it. You catch them off guard, and we can see, like someone like Jalen Warren, he needs to be involved big time in this game. Definitely, if they're going to run screens, Najee, he's hit or miss when it comes to those screens. You know how long it takes for him to accelerate. I would see a heavy dose of Jalen Warren and Cordella Patterson in the screen game when we go there, and just Najee, you're going to have to suck it up, and you're going to have to run against that brick wall of that front four and just get those nasty, ugly yards, take what they give you, and bruise them, and then we hit the screen games with the other two guys. But, with Jalen Warren, though, too, they can't just play like, oh, we're going to have to worry about the screen with him. We're going to have to – he can still run it up there, too. So use a nice little mix of ground and pound screen game. And like Andrew was saying, if Pickens plays, take the deep shot with him. Early and often.
We will get into Pickens just here shortly, Mike. I do want to say good morning to Roger. I also want to say good morning to Phil is still. Good morning, gentlemen. The thing about these next 3 games, guys, is what a lot of people don't understand is, yes, we played a top quarterback in Joe Burrow. Yes, we faced top running backs in Nick Chubb. But these 3 games is where you get the teams that are packed with good players.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You could say, you know what, you beat this playoff team in Denver. You beat this team that was a playoff team in Atlanta. They have a good quarterback. These guys have this. But these 3 games, these are the games that mimic a playoff run. These are going to be the kind of teams that you're going to see once the season's over until the season is over. Once you get into the playoffs, you're going to face teams that are just good from top to bottom. These are the kind of games that I think the Steelers need to play. I think this is a perfect time. Also, if you're going to take an L in your season, maybe a little bit later is not a bad time to take an L. You see a lot of these teams, these Cinderella teams, they go on these streaks, these long season-ending streaks. They win 6 games going to the playoffs. And you're eventually you're due. Teams study, and you can only do so much to keep ahead of the game when you're not that great of a team. So, guys, I just think that this 3-game stretch is so big for the Steelers. One way or another, of course, you want the best to play out. You want to finish in first place in the division. You want to get a high seed. There's no 2 ways about it. But at the end of the day, I think that the game, the experience of playing these 3 games in a row, I think is far more beneficial for this Pittsburgh Steelers team moving forward and going into the playoffs, because this is the closest mimic that we've had all season to the playoffs. You could say we started off against Denver, Atlanta, and the Chargers, which we did, and they're all playoff teams. But again, there's a difference between those 3 playoff teams and the 3 playoff teams that we're getting ready to go up against in these next 10 days, starting on Sunday, 11 days. So, guys, again, you want the best case scenario. If you win this week, you get a playoff spot. If you win next week, you get the AFC North. You want those things to happen. But again, if you lose one of these next 3 games, if you lose, you don't want to, obviously get, you don't want to get dominated. But if you lose a game in one of these next 3, at least you get that experience. You get prepared, because these are the teams you're going to be seeing here in a couple of weeks, not the Browns, not the Bengals, not the Raiders, teams like this, guys. And I also do want to throw out the Eagles. They only lost 2 games. Of course, we lost 3. The Eagles, only 2 losses this season. One, Mike, was to the Atlanta Falcons, who we did beat early on in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia lost that game 22-21. And the other game that they lost was to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which was a 33-16 win. Mike, Finch, Derpy, discuss amongst yourselves. What is it, guys? What is it that makes this team different, this Philadelphia team, different than last year's team? Mike, you kind of pointed out earlier they had some issues down the road. It caused them problems in the locker room, and this team just became terrible. They lost how many games to finish the season? They went into the playoffs and lost against the Green Bay team that they should have. I think, in my opinion, they should have beaten at the time. Mike, what's the difference between that team last year and the team we're going to face this year, and how is that going to affect these next 3 games for the Steelers?
The biggest difference is, just the addition of Saquon Barkley to that offense. It made them a complete offense. Now you don't know they're going to be in the run game, in the ground game. Somehow Sirianni was able to recapture the control of that locker room, but now we're starting to see creaks and cracks of it. And I don't know what's going on over there. Like AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts used to be great friends. Now there's a rift between them because AJ Brown's not getting the ball. Yeah, and it's the chemistry. And usually when you're winning, chemistry should be going sky high, and it's not. It's hard to explain what's going on over there, but I think this team is just so much better than last year, and that defense is so much better. Their defense, real quick, they're number 2 in scoring defense, only giving up 18 points a game. Throwing the ball or passing, rushing the ball, they're only giving up 105 yards a game, rushing. And then passing, they're only giving up 178 yards. That defense, yes, Vic Fangio, their D coordinator, has them rolling. That defense might be the best unit in the NFL from top to bottom. And that's the key difference right there. And for somehow keeping that locker room together was also a huge factor. But now you're seeing it fall apart down the stretch like last year. This team, there's just something in that DNA. Ever since that Super Bowl loss, they can't keep it together.
Go ahead, Finch.
Yeah, I mean, Mike nailed it. I was actually looking up the defensive stats for the Eagles as he was, just as he is, must have been thinking the same thing I was, and looked them up. You're right. The Eagles' defense is absolutely stout, and they've had a great defense for a few years now. Obviously, their secondary is very good. They got good rush. They stop the pass well. They do a lot of things well on defense. A lot of the same things that the Steelers do on defense. They're almost going to negate each other. Yeah. I think the point brought up earlier is that we need to make Philadelphia throw the ball. And the way we do that is get ahead. Throw the ball down the field early. Russ needs to score points early. If we can get that lead, even if it's just a 10-point lead, a touchdown and a field goal, by the end of the fourth quarter, if we can be ahead by 10 points, I feel really good about the Steelers' chances for the rest of the game. That's going to be the key is getting around that very stout Philadelphia defense.
I couldn't agree with you guys more. Let me introduce some people to the show again today. We want to say good morning to Ron on the board and also Field of Steel. Good morning, fellas. Let me start back with Brian. Good morning, Brian, as well. I'm sorry. Brian from One Man's Opinion. Of course, everybody knows him from the show here. He says if they want to stop Barkley, TJ Watt needs to be taken out of the game a lot. Third quarter Browns game, 4th and 1, Watt on the bench. Steelers make the stop. Fourth quarter, 4th and 1. They ran right at Watt. Does this hold any weight, Mike? Is there any do you I mean, because on the other hand, I've seen a couple plays where TJ Watt blows into the backfield and he crushes Derrick Henry. I've seen TJ Watt blow into the backfield and crush Nick Chubb, upon receiving the ball. So I mean, I see some validity to what he's saying, but on the other hand, Mike, is it hold weight?
While we're there, we might as well pull out Cam Hayward. He got bowled over for a touchdown once. We might want to pull out Minka Fitzpatrick, too, on obvious passing downs because he's been burnt. Might want to pull out Joey Porter Jr., too, because he was burnt on a touchdown before. Same thing with Dante Jackson. We might want to pull them out. We might want to take out Sayamalo because he had a bad game before. So let's just take out all the guys who have had a little hiccup here and there in some situations, and let's just roll with the backups and see what happens, guys. That's what I think about an argument like that. No, you don't take out your best players. You keep them in there. They're your best players for a reason. This is professional football. Pro sports. Sometimes you win a matchup, sometimes you don't win a matchup. And the thing is, how do you respond to that next matchup?
All right. No, good answer. I'm seeing some response on the board. Let me continue. I'm going to start back with John. John says, get turnovers, sacks, and get points early to put pressure on them, take the fans out, and let them fight amongst themselves. Ron, of course, welcome as always, my friend. Roger says Saquon Barkley is the difference maker in this game. John did mention Vic Van Chino. Gio, I'm sorry. Also, where are we at? Okay. So Jen says, I would love to see Kenny Pickett enter the game. I would love to see that too.
Well, you know, the way
He would kill us. He would kill us.
The way Jalen Hurts is playing right now, he might be Kenny Pickett.
You know what? If we're winning really bad or losing really bad, maybe those might be the two situations. Or an injury, as Mike said. But boy, would that be the best case scenario for the Steelers to get to face good old Kenny Pickett.
And Yinzers, Joe, good point. Good point. The Eagles are 7th offensively. Ravens are 1. Yeah.
All right, good point.
Should be a good. It's going to be a good matchup.
It is going to be a good matchup. This team is built similar to the Steelers and the Ravens and teams that are built the way that we are. So I think it's going to be a good game. The way that they dominated us last time or whatever 2 times ago when we got killed by Brown for like 3 touchdowns that day.
Yeah.
You know, that was a really uncharacteristic game to me for a Steelers Eagles game. Kudos to them for coming up with a game plan to be able to score like they did. But I think this is going to be a lot like a Ravens, Steelers, Browns, any kind of these Detroit kind of games. Mike, let me get a couple more of these in. I don't want to leave anybody out today. Ron says our defense still lets too much late game scoring.
Yeah.
Roger says to Mike, he says, good response. That was for your response to Brian's comment. Also, Phil the Steel says, get him at Mike the Steel. Mike the Steel.
I love when Phil calls me Mike the Steel. It feels good.
Does it feel like steel?
It does. It feels like steel, big boy.
And then also Jen says, oh, snap, Mike is going off. Hell yeah. Then Yinzers Joe, of course, you guys just addressed his comment.
The thing is that real quick back to Yinzers Joe's comments about the Eagles and Ravens offense. I like the Eagles wide receivers so much better.
Oh, me too.
Than what they have over there in Baltimore. I like Zay Flowers; he's a good young player. But when you have AJ Brown and oh my God,
Mike, I would take AJ Brown pretty much over anybody if I had a choice.
Me too. He's like
there's a freak of nature.
There's very few receivers I'd take above him, like Jamar Chase and Jetta. That might be about it. This guy's a freak. If his head isn't right in this game, thank you. Take yourself out of the game, buddy. You know, play with a boo-boo face. I will take that all day, every day. Now it's just going to be who's going to line up against him, Joey Porter Jr. or Dante Jackson. I say we put Joey Porter on him, and let's just see what happens.
Guys, it is the halfway point. It is halftime of the show. This is the time that I take and designate to encourage you to go out and vote for your favorite Pittsburgh Steeler for the All-Pro game. I got some numbers for you guys, and I think you guys are going to like what I'm about to tell you. Cam Hayward, guys. All right, so keep in mind, it takes just a second. Get on your phone, get on your computer, push a button, get your favorite Steelers voted to the Pro Bowl. Guys, here you go. Cam Hayward is the number 1 defensive tackle in the NFL right now in votes received for the Pro Bowl. There is Finch. You can see Finch pointing right to his Cam Hayward right there on his desk. Second, Mike, listen to this one, guys. Chris Boswell, the number 1 kicker in the NFL for votes received for a kicker, guys. Boz. All right, couple more. We got a couple more number 1s here, guys, before you check this out. TJ Watt, guys, Brian, everybody. TJ Watt, number 1 outside linebacker in the NFL. Votes got by fans and people. I'm just saying, I'll leave that right there. The next guy on the list, guys, Miles Killebrew is the first special teams vote getter in the AFC. Nobody in the AFC has more special teams votes than Miles Killebrew. Minka is the number 3 free safety votes getter in the AFC. Minka. Dante Jackson, the number 3 cornerback as far as receiving votes in the AFC. As far as the last time I checked, that guy makes the team, a 3rd cornerback. Pickens, number 3 wide receiver in the AFC with votes for. Beanie Bishop, number 4 in the AFC at cornerback for votes got. Beanie Bishop, guys.
Ooh.
Deshaun Elliott, number 4 at strong safety in the AFC. Zach Frazier, number 4 at center. And Najee Harris, number 4 at running back. Those all in the AFC. What's this telling me? This is telling me there's a lot of Steeler fans participating and pushing the button because a couple of these guys, of course, I think is higher than they should be. Beanie Bishop being the 4th best cornerback in the AFC, I think is a little bit. But you know what? I'm fine with that.
Still love him.
Continue to get on and vote your favorite Steelers guys. It just takes a second. The more the merrier. Again, look what the Yinzers have done so far at these voting. I think that this voting is just insane. I think it's awesomely insane. But again, guys, Dante Jackson, the 3rd best corner in the 3rd best vote getter in the AFC. Guys, this is you. This is the Yinzers talking. This is the voice and the power of the almighty Yinzers. So do keep it up, guys. Also, Mike, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said I love it. I love it where a lot of these guys are getting the recognition. Especially, I want to see Deshaun Elliott definitely make it as a starter.
Oh man, that'd be great. You know what?
Sweet.
Some of these guys they deserve it. I think, geez, oh man, Dante Jackson has 4 picks, and the guy ahead of him has 5 or 5 and 6, whatever it is. He's just 1 pick back. Come on, some of these guys deserve it. You know it. The country may not know it because they don't watch the games like we do. So you want to get in there, get these guys voted. And you know what? I think we could land a lot of Pro Bowlers this year, guys. I really do. Maybe we won't give them a chance to play, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Real quick. I got something to share here for Brian.
Here we go. We're getting another lesson. We're getting another lesson from Professor
Look, TJ Watt breaks inside, stops Bijan Robinson on inside for a run stuff. Okay. Maybe this is why you keep him in on rundowns. Beat the tackle to the inside move, boom, right to the running back. Yeah, that might be why you keep one of the best outside linebackers, edge rushers in football history in the game.
Ball's in your court,
Maybe
Brian.
you watch the film and learn defensive concepts and responsibilities of players instead of looking at a stat sheet and regurgitating stats.
All right, there you go.
Boom.
By
request.
I don't know. It's just
all right, relax.
Talking sports with people who don't know what they're talking about. I'm saying.
Let him. You're good. You got
your point across. In his court.
It's table tennis. It's table tennis.
Okay, man. Dude, back up a little bit.
I'm sorry. I'm going on like 3 hours of sleep and like 4 cups of coffee.
All right. Also, guys, in the talks of
that'll do it.
Of course, what you're seeing on the board is a little talk about the player of the year. I just see we'll get to the board in just a second, guys. But to just continue that, Cam Hayward is getting a lot of momentum in the defensive player of the year race talk. Yeah. Guys, I agree in a sense with Brian in a way, but I disagree also in another way. I do think that you get your flowers when you're doing very well. But on the other hand, I think the announcers certainly play a big part as well, creating situations like they do in the WWE, the wrestling. It's the announcers. They play such a big part of you understanding what's going on through the course of the season. And guys, I don't think that Cam Hayward is playing defensive player of the year level, but he's certainly playing a lot better than he has been the past couple of years, Mike. Is it fair to throw him in the defensive player of the year argument with guys like you named earlier, Carter from the Eagles and the guy from New York? And Mike, is he even realistically in the talks?
I think he should be.
And that's just defensive tackles. You got to think of all the other great defensive players around the league.
Oh, yeah. But the way when he is on his game right now, he is playing like he's 10 years younger. He
got paid.
He is like just killing offensive linemen, taking games over, controlling that line of scrimmage. 8 sacks as a DN in the 3-4. That's huge. Big time run stuff plays. But there are games where he tends to disappear and you don't hear from him. You don't hear the local media hyping him up. But you know what? A lot of players have those games. It just happens. Like I said before, it's professional football. You can't win them all. It's how you responded. Cam has responded well after a bad game this year. He has not had 2 bad games back-to-back. He's put up 2 dominant performances back-to-back against the Browns and against the Bengals. It pains me to say this, but I think Cam Hayward should be in talk for Defensive Player of the Year. As an interior D lineman, he's having, especially in the 3-4, he's having a hell of a season. I haven't seen him play this well in probably 5 or 6 years.
Finch, what do you think? I think it's a stretch to say that he's should be considered. It says he's gaining momentum. Let me be fair.
Yeah, it's more than a stretch, dude. It's a rubber band that's stretched all the way.
We like it. We like to hear. We'll support it.
We
Right.
love Cam. I like Cam. I've always been a fan of Cam. Obviously, I bought his autograph because I like Cam. I'm not that kind of guy that does that, but I really like
And you have that
Cam.
little guy right there behind you. You have a little Cam right there behind you.
Yeah,
Is that the
sure.
autograph?
What, this right here?
Yeah.
That's the
Oh,
autograph
that's right.
right
Is that a
there.
card? Okay, I see what's going on. It looked
Yeah,
like
it's a
it was
card.
something that was sitting in the background of the mic, but it was
Nah,
flipped
it's just
onto your
a
mic.
yeah, it's clipped
I
onto my
like it.
microphone.
Okay.
I like to dress up for the camera. But
Yeah, no, I like it. That's good.
No,
It just
don't get me
appeared to
wrong.
be behind. Yeah, good.
We all love Cam, right? I mean, he's a very good player, a solid player, probably a Hall of Famer one day. Okay, but
Dang,
once Hayward
John.
got paid, stopped coloring his beard to look young. That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't disagree with that, right? But in terms of defensive player of the year, come on, man. There are
Yeah.
so many other players. When it comes to that particular award, that's one of the ones that's designated by the AP, right? It's not a fan vote. It's not a player vote. That's the Associated Press. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
So the press, the first thing they do is they go all ping pong Brian and they look at the stats. And if the stats aren't great, then they're not going to vote you as player of the year. And sure, his stats are good for a defensive player, for a defensive line or tackle, but he doesn't have 20 sacks. He doesn't have interceptions. Those are the things that they look for in those voting. The AP are a bunch of stat hounds, right? And sorry for the shade, Brian. I'm just having a little fun, but that's how it is, right? And I love 97. He's one of my favorites of all time. But this year, he's not player of the year. Now, if you ask a poll of offensive linemen what they think, it might be a completely different story. They might say, hey, this guy finds a way to get around us every single time. He's always pushing us around. He's stronger than us. He's better than us. He's smarter than us. He's vocal. He does all the good things. It might be a different vote if you ask some offensive linemen around the AFC North or around the AFC in general. But as far as the AP voting, it doesn't hold water. I mean, I love Cam. More power to him, but he's not there. He's not.
And to echo, I think it was Roger's point that Cam has 8 pass defense at the line of scrimmage. That is insane.
That's a great stat.
That is a great stat. And he has Sexy Dexy has 9 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. Cam has 8 sacks, 10 tackks for loss.
I'm saying he doesn't even lead in anything.
He doesn't lead anything, but the way those two are disruptive in the positions that they play, I think they both garner consideration, but there's some other people who should be up higher on that list than those two guys. I don't mind them being in the conversation. Should they win it? I don't know. You have to have like that Aaron Donald-esque, type season of just utter dominance.
Hey, can I throw a real shout out real quick on the board? My good friend Donovan has joined us on the board. He's making a couple comments. I just want to say hi, Donovan. He just recently got married.
Welcome,
so
Donovan.
Good to see you, Donovan. Thank
congratulations. Also, I do want to, Derpy. Let me just jump to you real quick here. Is the gentleman? Does the guys on the board know what they're talking about? Is Sniffles and Shine head over there? Does this sound accurate to you? Do they? Or is this? Is there anything that they're missing, Derpy?
Nope, it's accurate. They're all
right.
100% correct.
Okay, I do, guys. There's a lot of boom. There's a lot of things going on the board today, guys. So let me catch up here a little bit. I'm going to start back. I'm going to back up a little bit. Mike, one man's opinion on sports. Brian says I like how Mike's response to my scenario was to not talk about Watt and his lack of ability to play versus the run.
Attaboy, Brian.
What's that?
Good. I said that a boy, Brian. Way to defend
there
yourself.
you go.
That's a great comment. He's right.
Also,
he's 100% right on that.
Also, Ron says we just need to beat the Ravens. We could lose to the Eagles, Kansas City, and Cincinnati as long as we beat the Ravens. That's Ron. Jen says Brian needs a big hug. Brian needs a big hug. There you go. I see Finch there. He loves those hugs from behind. Also, Roger says, so the only tackles Watt records are QBs. So the only tackles Watt records are QBs. Also, Brian
just showed
says,
a clip of him destroying a running back in the backfield. So that's irrelevant. It's not right.
One man's opinion. Brian also says Ryan, it's a popularity contest. Pro Bowl voting is just more ammunition to my case of Watt being the most overrated defensive player in the history of the NFL. Field of Steel says Derpy, give these Steelers a boom. We get a boom for Derpy.
Boom.
Boom. All right. Boom. Here we go. Jen says Brian being the podcast villain. Let's give him some love. Absolutely. He is the villain. You guys remember? I don't even want to get into that, but let me move on. Not to mention the number of tip balls. Also, Roger says that. Phil the Steel says Mike the Steel. Keep putting up Watt highlights. Many more to come, brother. Boom.
Boom.
Boom. Where's the boom? Where's the boom?
Boom.
I love it. John says once Hayward was paid and stopped coloring his beard. Okay, you guys got that.
That was my favorite comment.
Great comment.
That's just great. There's
Fantastic.
so many good.
Pin that. Can you pin
Phil
that?
the Steel said my boy played like 97, a beast.
Mm-hmm.
Jen says ping pong Brian. I think
Tennis.
Mike, can you
Phil
pin that
Steel
comment?
like that.
I pinned it, Derpy. I pinned it.
Also, Brian says Mike yesterday uses meaningless stats to make his point that Watt had a good game. Then tells me not to use stats. Make it make sense, Mike.
No, I used stats. I used video evidence. I used actual concept that defensive line coaches want to see their players use. I showed you how he affected the game by pressuring the quarterback. If he couldn't get to the quarterback, you get into rush lanes, you get passing lanes. That's why you notice great defensive linemen like Cam Hayward, if they know they can't get to the quarterback, what do? They get their hands up. They get in pass lanes, get in rush lanes. That's what TJ Watt does. That's what the D-line coaches want to see from him. If you can't beat the guy, don't take yourself out of the play. Make the quarterback uncomfortable in the pocket, and that's what he did.
J.J. Watt made an entire career of doing that. And when he couldn't get to the quarterback, he would just throw his hands up. And I think he leads the NFL all time in passes deflected. Am I wrong?
Ron has your back here a little. What Mike Ron
First
says, really unicorn, worst in the NFL history. Step away from the hallucinogens. That's what Ron says.
If anyone has any hallucinogens around, I will take some.
Also, Jen says we are going to have to set up a GoFundMe for Brian's therapy after this podcast.
He'll be fine. He loves the back and forth.
Absolutely. This is what he does. John says, I hope Donovan didn't marry Derpy's aunt.
No. Poor Derpy's aunt. I wouldn't wish poor Donovan on that.
Also, Roger says, I was disputing Brian's remark about Watt doesn't play the role. No, we got you, man. We got you. And then Brian also comes back and says, Mike, that didn't happen. I watched the game this morning, and he stunk all game. Just stop with the excuses. Mike?
He might need to get his eyes checked or, pick up a football 101 book. One of the two.
We do not care.
That's right.
Also, I do want to say, of course, welcome to Donovan. This is Finch's dude. Donovan is on the board. He says, I have him on fantasy. Myles Garrett was a fraud, and TJ should have got it. I think a lot of people would agree with you.
Year. Yes.
Guys,
Smiles Carrot.
This is Smiles Carrot, everybody. This is the CBS. This is the way CBS ranks the Super Bowl contenders, guys. If you want to hear what CBS thinks of the Pittsburgh Steelers and their chances to win the Super Bowl, to go to the Super Bowl, I'm sorry. Number one, the Detroit Lions. Number one, they have Detroit number one. Buffalo number two, which I don't think I would argue either
no
one
arguments.
So far.
They're great.
Number three, Philadelphia, the number three, CBS's top 10 chances to rank to go to the Super Bowl. Kansas City, number 4. Baltimore, number 5. Minnesota, number 6. Green Bay, number 7. Pittsburgh, number 8. The Chargers, and then the Rams finish out the list at 9 and 10. Guys, do we need to have a better look at this team over the next 3 weeks before we could say if this is accurate or not? Because I know a lot of people that's watching the show are going to go, "Oh no, the Steelers they're higher than Green Bay, they're higher than Minnesota, they're higher than Baltimore." But I think it's going to be a lot more accurate if we would make the call in 3 weeks from now, or I'm sorry, 11 days from this coming Sunday, before we could actually say that. Because again, people have that homer mentality. You always think your team's better than what it is, and I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying, but once we get a look at what the results are of these next 3 games, I think that this list right here could change a lot. It all depends, right, Finch?
Every one of those teams listed could very well beat the Steelers in a one-on-one matchup, right? I mean, Baltimore, obviously, we're going to play them again. We play the Eagles this week. A lot of those teams on that list are teams we're going to be playing coming up. 3 of them are, and they're all ahead of us, right? So we have the tools Okay, we have the ability to make a run right now, and getting that quote disrespect from the national media means nothing. It means nothing. It's
If it was new to the Steelers, Finch, maybe it would affect us, but this is nothing new to Steelers
this
and
is
Steelers
nothing
fans.
new. We're never at the top of these lists ever. Even the years when we won the Super Bowl, we had that dominant team in 2008, 2009. Nobody had us pick the win until January. But the upcoming 3 weeks are going to be the determining factor on how good the Steelers are going to be looked at, because we're about to play probably three of the very best teams, three of the three of the five very best teams, I should say. We don't
And
play the Bills.
a very good quarterback in a game that's
A couple
to
great
finish out the
quarterbacks.
season.
Probably the best running back in the league. We're going to play this
Yep.
week. One of the best defenses in the league. We're going to play this week. Mahomes coming up. The Baltimore obviously is Baltimore. It's the Steelers have everything to prove and nothing to lose at this moment in time. The ceiling is very high for us. We just got to keep playing.
You have to love the situation that the Steelers are in. It couldn't get any better. Again, the ball is in our court. It all comes down to what we do. We don't have to.
It would be a better
blame.
situation if our schedule didn't have Kansas City and Philadelphia. If the rest of our schedule was Cleveland, Cincinnati, somebody like that, maybe it would be a better scenario. But
I like it. A lot of times in the past, we finish out with a slow part of a season, and then we go into the playoffs, and we kind of, I say let's try this route. Let's try with the last few games of the season being very tough. Maybe we get some different results in the playoffs.
The opponents are gonna make the Steelers better. That's what it comes out to.
That's
Iron
the way I look at
sharpens iron. So if we go in there, we have great battles, we play these teams, we play well, we will learn. And
You're not going to be prepared to play the Bills if you finish up the season playing the Raiders, the Giants, and the Browns. I love this. You don't see this often. People have been complaining all season about it. And I think this is a good thing for the Steelers, guys. I think we can certainly benefit because here again, we're just one win away from making the playoffs. We're not. We're in pretty good shape. So no matter if we lose a game, I think that it's not going to hurt us as bad as some people may think. We're in a good shape. Again, if you take an L to one of these three, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Mike, Finch, Derpy, let me give you I gave you the Pro Bowl leaders so far, Mike. This in Derpy and Finch, this is the Coach of the Year candidates, guys. Coach of the Year candidates that did come out. Dan Campbell, the Detroit Lions. Kevin O'Connell from Minnesota. Okay, that's a good one too, right? Guys only got 2 losses. Dan Quinn in Washington. They had a little fall off, but come on, that team's coming along. Jim Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin. Guys, these 5 right now. There's no Andy Reid. There's no LaFleur. It's what the list that I have right now in front of me. This is your possible Coach of the Year candidates: Dan Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, Dan Quinn, Jim Harbaugh, and Mike Tomlin. In my opinion, guys, did Dan Campbell win it yet?
No.
And
how this is a team that went to the NFC Championship game last year.
Yeah.
How is he in consideration this year? That's now the standard. That's now the expectation.
I think maybe, Mike, because
you shouldn't be in there.
I think if you give it to a guy like this after 1 year and then they fail, I don't know if you're getting the full feel of the coach. I think it would be more fitting for somebody like Dan Campbell to win it this year, showing that he could get that team back instead of just getting there. Getting back sometime, I think, shows a lot more about a team than just getting there. Would you agree?
Yeah, but if that was the case, Andy Reid would win it every year.
Yeah, and Belichick would have won it every
ridiculous,
year too.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
But
do you think that Dan Campbell's in a worse situation now, Mike, because he didn't get it last year? I think this is best case scenario for him. I think
this is the best. Yeah, it's the best. It's like the Myles Garrett effect. Yeah, he didn't win it. So there's other deserving candidates, but I'm going to give it to you because what you did last year. You see that a lot for All-Star Game and Pro Bowl voting and All-Pro awards. You didn't get it last year, but you did well again this year, close enough to it. So yeah, we'll give it to you this year because you proved you can do it once, and then you kind of did it again the next year. So we'll give it to you. It's going to be one of those awards.
I think the history and the stigma of the Detroit Lions from the last 15 years is going to play a lot of that too.
Absolutely.
These guys were 0-16 in what was it, 2007, 2008, somewhere around. I mean, I know that was a long time ago. It doesn't feel that long to us, but it was a long time ago. But they haven't been very good ever since, with the exception of a couple good teams until last year.
And Finch, for a guy that's never had a losing season, you can say what you want about Andy Reid.
Yeah.
You can say what you want about any of these guys. For a guy that never had a losing season. I think there's some disservice there to say the guy never won a Coach of the Year. At some point, for a guy that's never had a losing season, in my opinion. But again, I think what Finch says goes a long way. I think in Detroit, come on, this team has been terrible for
Stigma.
eternity. They've never been any good. So
And
for a
the
team
guy
to get
turned
back,
it around. There's no doubt. Campbell has
Absolutely.
completely turned the whole place around. Not just him by himself. Obviously, he has a good team around him. He has a good front office. He does not have the Matt Millens that Detroit had in the past.
God.
If I was,
Never thought you'd say that name on this show. But yeah, that's just how it is. You got to give Dan Campbell all the credit in the world. Yes, Mike Tomlin deserves this award this year. Yes, he does. Does he deserve it more than Dan
but I
Campbell?
think
That's hard to say.
exactly. I think exactly.
See, I don't know. I would go with the oh god, his name escaped me. The coach of the Commanders. I think
Quinn.
Thank you, Dan Quinn. Yeah, for what he did down there. That's a team that was
Yeah.
Well, they
supposed to
did
be one
fall
of
off,
the
too.
worst teams in the league.
It's
They
the
started
same
to fall
situation.
off, but yeah,
The
but
stigma situation.
yeah, probably he
Washington
might.
has a bad stigma.
Yeah, if they come back and have a good season next year, I could see him being, the front runner for that award.
Also, keep in mind, Washington isn't dominating their division the way that Detroit and Pittsburgh are. Pittsburgh's not dominating division, but we've been at number one the entire
Washington,
season.
I don't even think they're in a playoff spot anymore. They're in and out, guys. Let me get on some messages here because we are getting there on time. Everybody, no, you're all good, my man. Let's see. The last thing we said or we got was Brian was saying Mike just stop making excuses. Ron says I think Brian is legally blind. Let's see.
You got to be able.
Okay.
You have to be able to see very well to track a ping pong ball.
That's true.
Guys, I can't.
Boom.
Phil still says Ron though. Mommy didn't strap it up, so just gonna leave it there. Brian says I hope the Eagles run the ball right at Watt all game. Then we could do a show next week on the film study and break down what Watt lack of size, effort to play the position he does. John says there isn't a team the Steelers can't beat. It's all about mindset. I agree. Feel the Steel also says Steelers offense to step up on Sunday.
Yeah, big time.
The schedule will battle test them. Agree. Absolutely. I agree on that. 100%, John. Let's see. Yinzer Joe says if they win against the Eagles and beat the Ravens again, maybe they'll get the media respect that they deserve. Brian said Andy Reid is by far the best coach in the NFL.
You're right, Brian.
I couldn't agree more.
Hard to argue that. Gotta love what Andy Reid's been doing the last 7-8 seasons in Kansas City, and but he can't win the award every year. It's like I said a minute ago. If it was based around that criteria, he would just win every single year. Belichick would have won it 20 years in a row. It is what it is.
Yinzer Joe says I think the Vikings coach is on top of that list. You know what? You
yeah.
make a strong argument for him as well.
I don't hate it.
In a division that has 2 playoff teams sitting in it, they're sitting there with only 2 losses. So 3 playoff teams. I'm sorry if I said 3.
Yeah, the Packers too. Yeah, don't forget the Packers.
Phyllis Steele says, I feel like Eazy-E dissing those studio gangsters, Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, for real.
Studio gangsters. Good one.
That's what Eazy-E used to say, man. He used to say those guys never did the
I just haven't
dirt.
heard that phrase for a long time.
I listened to a lot of 90s rap, so unfortunately I have heard that recently, but it did make me chuckle, guys. Also, John says pressure affects teams in the playoffs.
Oops.
Detroit has it because they've never won. Bills and Ravens are panicking because their quarterbacks haven't done it, and that stigma pressure shows under the big lights. And Ron says we don't or never settled for mediocrity as fans, so regular season is mute point. A couple things, guys, before we do move on. The injury to Pickens, as we talked about yesterday, it was a grade 2 hamstring. As far as we know, he's going to be out possibly the next 2 to 3 weeks. Or 2 to 3 weeks total with this injury. They're saying right now that he probably is not looking. It's not looking good for Pickens in this coming week's game against the Eagles. How does this affect the Steelers' chances, Finch, this coming week if we don't have Pickens for our second continuous week? Also, before you do answer, remind you that we played with all these other wide receivers, your Scotty Millers, your this and that, and beat the Browns. Let's put green uniforms with Eagles wings on the helmet before you decide or before you think to answer that question. How is it going to fare now with going up against the Eagles and not having our number 1 receiver? It's not the Browns, mind you.
You never want to restrict your options. You want every option available on every play, on every down of every game. So it's obviously going to be a bad thing that he isn't there. You want him there, obviously. He's one of our best guys. He's our number one, number two wide receiver. At the same time, yeah, I mean, we just beat the Browns without him. And guess what? The Browns, they're the Browns, and they stink. And, but they also have a really great defense. And Russ Wilson made him look pedestrian in the second half. He threw the ball all over the place. He didn't have a lot of yardage, but he made the plays when they needed to happen, and the receivers stepped up, and it's going to happen again this week. I see another Scotty Miller pass this week.
The thing that kind of makes that interesting is this. If you're playing a good defense, it's sometimes okay if your defense doesn't have to stop a good offense. In other words, you could kind of keep it close, keep it ugly, keep it low scoring, and win the way that Pittsburgh Steelers have been, winning games the past couple seasons prior to this one. The Eagles' offense, a lot better than Cleveland's offense. The Eagles' defense, I mean, if you want to compare Cleveland's defense, say they both got really good defense. I can meet you halfway on that one.
Yeah.
But just the Philadelphia Eagles are just a better team than the Browns are. They play better. They're better. They're 10-2 or 11-2 for a reason.
Better coached.
Now, absolutely.
Yeah. Kevin Stefanski.
So again,
overrated.
Again, guys, can we beat this Eagle team with basically not having any ones or twos? You could argue, guys, there's twos on this team, but again, at the end of the day, if we had our a 1 and a 2, these guys would be 3 through 6. Everybody else that we have in the receiving room. Mike, can the Steelers win this game without a 1 and a 2 receiver?
No. Looking at their back end, their secondary, no. I think we need George Pickens this game. We need him big time. That secondary is filthy, is nasty. You got the exciting whites with Blankenship and Cooper DeJean. Quinion Mitchell is just shutting everyone down. Guantanamo Bay. This dude is one of the best rookie corners we've seen in a long time. He's having like a Sauce Gardner type rookie season. Darius Slay on the other side, good secondary. We need George Pickens, and we need him to keep that defense honest, to where they can't just load up the box. And if they load up the box, I don't think we're going to be able to exploit it the way we did against Cleveland.
And that's one thing I wanted to understand. I wasn't trying to bait Mike into saying something. I was just trying to get the other point, because I agree with Finch and I agree with Mike. I think that I definitely wanted to get both sides of that opinion.
Yeah, but
there, guys.
Finch and John are saying here, you spread the ball around. 9 receivers, one game, 10 before, get the ball around. But I think we need George. This is the game where we need him. And
all right,
we can negate their secondary as well by doing what we mentioned earlier. Negate the blitz and negate the secondary by throwing a lot of screen passes, throwing a lot of those quick outs, those quick, 3-step dump offs, the fast release stuff, the Tom Brady type plays. If the Steelers can do that, we can negate some of their ability on defense and at least move the ball, and then hopefully possess the ball, hold on to the ball, and just eat the clock and get the win that way.
Yeah, that's true. Like if Calvin Austin against Cooper DeJean, that should be a fun matchup to watch.
All right, significant AFC matchups that affect us in the Week 15 this weekend, guys. Kansas City plays at Cleveland. Baltimore at the Giants. I can't, especially coming out of bye, I can't see Baltimore losing this game.
No.
If I was a gambling man, I would definitely take Baltimore. No two ways about it. Also, the Bills at Detroit. At Detroit, and Pittsburgh at Philadelphia. Guy, there's mad good football coming on this week with plenty of implications for the playoffs. The Monday Night Football game last night, the Bengals beat them girls. That's right. It's always their season, them girls. They lose again, 27-20. I thought what was one of the most interesting parts of the game, because I don't really care for either the Bengals or the Cowboys, was the Bengals kicker. I guess his name was Cade York. He's dating a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, Zoe Dale. So he was out there getting ready to make a kick, and they kept panning to the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader chick standing there. And it was cool. Again, if you don't care for either one of those teams, that was a highlight. The kicker from the Bengals is dating a Cowboys cheerleader. So interesting stuff there. Finally, if you want to put – yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, did anyone catch the Simpsons version of this game?
I just want to gag when I see these, but
I liked it. I thought it was funny. Like, if I was a little kid, I think that would be like the coolest thing in the world. It would be awesome. Yeah.
If you're a kid in the 90s, that would have been awesome. The kids
Right,
today have
right.
no idea who the fucking Simpsons are.
No,
I
but-
mean,
It would have to
Are
be
you-
Jeffy or somebody like this.
yeah, right.
Watching
Phineas and
Ralph
Ferb.
Wiggum catch a touchdown pass to end someone's fantasy football season. It brought joy
Also,
to
guys,
my.
I do want to say this. Let's kick the Browns in the ass. Finish one more time. Let's flush that toilet. I have a closing statement about the Browns. Devin Bush, the former Pittsburgh Steeler, the only one talking with sense after the Steeler Browns game. Devin Bush comes out and just says this. They're all bitter. Smiles is over there talking about next year. They're bitter. Devin Bush, the smartest one of the group, comes out and says, just another football game, no strong feelings. So there you go. Former Pittsburgh Steeler, the only one that's making sense in Cleveland.
Who would have thought Devin Bush would make sense?
Right. Also, I do want to announce the Derpy. The reason the Derpy's here, everybody, Derpy.
The only reason he showed up.
Boom.
He shows up on days when he wins. That's Derpy has he has a way. Boom, Derpy. You did win. In fact, you won the picks this week. You won by way of 11-9. Mike, you took LA in the Kansas City LA game, Mike. You lost that one, and also you took Arizona in the Seattle Arizona game. Derpy, you did win again. You won 11-9, and also if it came down to tiebreakers, guys, get this: Derpy hit it right on the head, not the score, but the tiebreaker sum itself. 40 points. Derpy said 23-17. It was 27-13, which also equals 40 points. Derpy would have nailed that right on the head. But Mike, you got to get back into it. This week takes Derpy up to 9-4. Derpy is 9-4 in the season. Mike, I know that you're a little bit of a late bloomer. So maybe you could get it together here over the last month and into the playoffs. Of course, this will go all the way through the Super Bowl. So still ways to go, but Derpy, you do have a comfortable lead on your picks for 9-4. We'll be doing it again on Thursday to get ready for this week's picks. Also, Mike, a couple real quick notes here before we do move on. Let me see. Dick Allen. We talked yesterday about the Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame. Dick Allen, also from right here in Beaver County, right to the northwest side of Pittsburgh. Guys from Wampum, Finch. Wampum, an area that you're kind of familiar with.
Yeah, that's near where I grew up. Yeah.
Dick Allen did also make the Baseball Hall of Fame, guys. So good for him. Dick Allen from Wampum. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
Penguins back in action tonight, Mike. Colorado Avalanche is in town to take on the Penguins. That game is at 7 o'clock tonight. Mike, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about the website?
The Two Dumb Yinzers, everyone check it out. We got the merch store. We got all of our social media links over there. We got the blog all up at the2dumbYinzers.com. We got the Discord as well. That's always hopping out definitely on game day. Check it out. I posted the link up in the chat, the links on the site, the links over at the website. So check all that out. the2dumbYinzers.com. Over to you, Derpy.
If you're new to the Two Dumb Yinzers show, be sure to subscribe below and boom! Pound that like button.
That's what I like to hear, Derpy.
Boom! Boom! Remember when Mike started screaming into the microphone like he wasn't on a microphone? That was fun.
When?
All right.
When did I do that?
Earlier today, you were screaming about something and blew everybody's ears out because you're in front of them. Anyway, besides the point, guys, we have to get in. We got to get into the trivia question of the day. Trivia question. This is, of course, a Philadelphia Eagles trivia question because we are playing the Eagles this week, guys. Finch, Mike, Derpy, put on your thinking caps. Everybody on the board, everybody at home. Here we go. What year was the Philadelphia Eagles' first season? When were the Eagles established? Go ahead and think that over. We're live 5 days a week right here, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube. All right, I see the wheels turn, and I literally see smoke coming out of Finch's ears. And snots out of his nose.
We do not care.
All right, guys, question of the day. What year was the Philadelphia Eagles' first season? What year were they established? I'm going to start with Sniffles. Finch, what year was it?
We do not care.
I like 1940. For some reason, that as soon as you asked a question, that was the first number that jumped out of my head was 1940. So I'm going with 1940.
All right, good pick. I'm going to come to you, Mike. Mike, what was the Eagles' first season? What was the year they were established?
1935.
35 for Mike. Is this your final answer?
Final answer.
He's reading the board.
I'm on Twitter
I
right
know.
now.
What's the chances he picks that same number that's right at the top of the board?
Literally
anyway,
30
I didn't even see
seconds
that.
after Brian posted.
Oh yeah, like Brian and I are on the same
fucking
side
Brian's
today.
on his phone looking it up because he wants to be right in the comments,
Ooh,
Oh,
Derpy, let me come to you
yeah.
next. Derpy, what year? What year were the Eagles established?
1958.
No.
1958. Is that your final answer?
Yeah. I'm just
All right,
guessing.
gentlemen.
I'm just guessing.
All right, no, that's good. Guys, the question of the day is what year was the Eagles' first season? What year were they established? Let me take a look at some of the answers that people have gave. Phyllis still says 1963. Brian from One Man's Opinion says 1935. Ron Navy says 1934. John says 1932. Here on the board, Derpy says 1958. Finch says 1940, and Mike says 1935. I'll give you a hint. Every single one of you are wrong, but every single one of you pretty much are close. The answer, guys, to what year was the Philadelphia Eagles' first year, the year of establishment, the same year as the Pittsburgh Steelers, 1933.
33. Okay.
1933 is the correct answer. That's the only way I ever remember that, is the Eagles and the Steelers were established the same year.
With the Steagles for 1 year.
Yeah,
10 years
1943,
after
I think it was, we were the Steagles.
10 years after they were established, they merged with the Steagles during the war. Guys, let's pick up on a couple of these, a couple more messages before we do wrap it up for the day. Phil still says no 3 and outs. That's definitely a big thing on this coming game. You got to have cut down to 3 and outs, obviously, when it's time to try to play,
especially
beat a
early
good
in the
team.
game.
Absolutely,
can't lose that momentum in the first couple of drives of the game.
Which the
Gotta
Steelers
get
seem to
those
do a lot. I'd like to see that change. Continue to spread the ball around. Okay, we did get that. I'm sorry, Yinzer Joe said, is Calvin Austin faster than Cooper DeJean? We may find out. If I was a gambling man, I'd say no, but that's just that's based on nothing. John says, don't don't forget GP's health in the playoffs for the Eagles win this week. If he isn't ready, rest him. Tomlin could be playing possum with GP. I'm kind of skeptical as well on this injury, but we will certainly keep an eye on it moving forward. Field of Steel said, boom. John called Devin Bush, Devin Peach Fuzz. I like that.
Yeah.
Phil of Steel, I like it. Phil of Steel says, I'm going to make that a shirt. Boom. Black and gold style. I like it a lot.
Boom.
Boom. Then there was all the answers. Let's see down here at the bottom. Nice one, Fincher. Phil of Steel says, and Phil of Steel says, if you can put up what Romo said post game versus the Browns. I'm not sure what that is.
I don't have that clip. I know Romo said like the Steelers are like more or less a complete football team, and
a lot of people are saying that now.
Super Bowl.
I like it, Mike. I do. You hear that a lot now. I think, who was the other one the other day?
Maurice Jones-Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll take that. Guys, anything before we start getting ready to wrap things up? Of course, Hard Knocks is on tonight. Don't miss that, guys. 9:00 p.m. This is week 2 of the Hard Knocks show. It's getting a lot of popularity and a lot of positive attention last week, talking about the AFC North.
It was so good,
of course,
man.
Tonight, 9:00 p.m. Mike, anything before we get ready to wrap up, man?
Yeah, some notes from the Tomlin press conference. Pickens had an MRI on the hammy. It was more significant than they thought. Right now, he's described as doubtful. Tomlin says it's theoretical that he could play. Apparently, we're talking physics now. Deshaun Elliott also has some hamstring tightness. Larry O with some groin tightness. All 3 are listed right now as doubtful. Those are 3 huge losses if they cannot play.
That was no, Mike. Thank you for that. That was helpful.
And I have one more thing to share with the class. This one we're going to shout this out to Brian. Let's just watch TJ Watt on this play, everyone.
Is this just this past weekend?
Yeah, from the Browns. Watch them. I'm going to engage. Can't get to the quarterback. Oh, we're going to disrupt some passing lanes here. What do you know? Incomplete pass. That's how you do it, ladies
So
and
there you
gentlemen.
go. There's the
Realize you
debate.
can't get to the quarterback. You affect the play.
You realize that you made that screen so tiny, so anybody
I
watching
know,
on their phone could not see it.
That's the best footage that I had.
They have
Well,
something going back
blow
and
it
forth.
up.
These two. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if that was intentional.
They're having a
With
secret
these
love
two,
affair. That's what it
they
is.
are
It's
having a secret
love-hate.
love affair.
Yeah.
You love to see it here on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Finch, what about you, man? Anything before we wrap up for the day?
Yeah, go Steelers. They just got to keep playing their game. If they play their game, things are going to go well. And yeah, that's all I got to say is go Steelers. And real quick, look forward to a video from me here on this channel tomorrow.
Nice.
Yes, absolutely. We cannot wait having Finch back tomorrow. You know what? And you made a great point as well, Finch. We are good. People are getting a little worried.
Team.
We're
We're
good.
a good team.
If we
good
weren't,
teams
this would
play
be a
good
different
teams.
story.
Exactly.
We're amongst the top. I want to see these kind of games. Again, I think you need this going into the playoffs. I want to play some good teams before I get into the playoffs because, again, you don't go home after you lose one of these. So take advantage, learn. Yeah.
If we're going to lose one, this is the one to lose. Like you said earlier, it's okay to lose a game late in the season. If we're going to lose one, let's lose one to an NFC opponent. That way it doesn't affect the standings quite as much. And it's going to be a great barometer to see how great this team really is. The Steelers, the next 3 weeks, it's going to be a real slobber knocker. 3 games in a row, and I am here for it.
Taking a line from the show Seinfeld, Finch, that's pronounced thermometer. Cosmo Kramer. I don't know. You have to be a Seinfeld fan to get that joke.
And we are.
Jerry said barometer, and Kramer goes, that's spelled thermometer, Jerry. Anyway, was
Loving
totally
every
wrong.
Minute of it.
Every minute. Derpy, what about you, my man? Anything before we wrap it up for today?
3 things.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Boom.
Boom. Good.
We're waiting.
Go Steelers.
Yeah.
Boom. And Mike is very bald.
That I am.
And that was only 2 things.
That was 3 things because I said go Steelers. Boom.
And the boom was a whole thing.
The boom's one of them, baby.
Okay. The boom is gaining a lot of traction. My thing is this, guys. Is it any surprise to you that a guy who gets pushed 5 times every weekend, his last name is Hurts? That's all I got to say. I also do want to say this, guys. Thank you so much for everybody coming and hanging out and checking us out today. We appreciate each and every one of you. We want to thank, we certainly couldn't do it without you. We want to thank everybody on the board. You guys always keep things interesting. Everybody at home. Kenneth, I do want to say welcome. Yes, you just did catch the end, but you can always go back and watch the whole show.
Baby.
It was a good one, man. Thanks to John, Phil, Steel, everybody, Jen as well, everybody on the board. Gentlemen, anything else before we wrap it up? Speaking now, forever hold your peace.
Yeah, I got something.
All right. It better not be like a wrestling promo for Brian. That's where this is going.
Good job zooming in.
All right, here we go.
Mike. There we go. Jameis can't hit the check down over on that side. Oh, yeah, that's how you play.
Boom.
That's how you play smart football.
Oh, I know that music. All right.
Of course you do.
I thought, what did I push here? Something better not pop up on my screen. But no, guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow, same time to do it all over again. We'll be here. Finch will be in the house, so do stop back and check us out. I want to thank Derpy. Derpy, congratulations, because you do have a nice lead now on Mike on these picks. So Thursday we'll be back to picks for the upcoming weekend. Again, guys, tonight the Pittsburgh Penguins are in action. They'll be hosting the Colorado Avalanche. Get down to the stadium or the arena maybe and go check them out and support the Penguins. And I think that's about it, guys. Hard Knocks, 9 o'clock. You don't want to miss Hard Knocks. That is at 9 o'clock. Tune in tomorrow. We'll keep you updated with all the Pittsburgh Steelers scoop. Get you ready for the Philadelphia Eagles and this playoff run coming up here in just a few weeks. I do want to say thank you to everybody on the board. I do see guys are saying thank you, bye, things like this. Thank you, guys, and have a great day. For Finch, for Derpy, for Mike in the Steelers Central Mobile Studio, myself, the Two Dumb Yinzers, everybody have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you tomorrow.